You know that feeling, right? That racing heart, the sweaty palms, that voice in your head going, what if they hate me? Just before you walk into a room full of people. Well, what if I told you that feeling isn't a flaw? It's not a bug in your system. We're about to find out why that anxiety is actually a feature.
Yeah, you heard that right. That whole physical response is actually an ancient survival tool that's hardwired into your brain. So instead of fighting it, we're going to learn to understand it and, believe it or not, use it to our advantage.
All right, first up, anxiety is a feature. Let's dive into this wild idea. Why your brain literally treats social rejection like you're staring down a tiger. So every time you dodge that phone call or you decide to just stay home instead of going to that party, you're paying what we call a loneliness tax. It's a tax on your potential, your happiness, all the connections you could be making. It's a real loss, and trust me, it adds up over time. And here's why that tax feels so painfully high. For our ancestors, getting kicked out of the group wasn't just, embarrassing. It was a death sentence. You were alone, facing all the dangers of the world. And your brain, it hasn't forgotten that. That anxiety is just thousands of years of survival instinct screaming, stay safe. So how do we update this ancient software? Well, we retrain it. Which brings us to Section 2, the social muscle rep. This is where we learn that social skill isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, one rep at a time. Now this is a total game changer. You are not good at being social or bad at being social. It's not a fixed trait. You just have a social muscle that's either been worked out or it hasn't. And just like any other muscle, it gets stronger every single time you use it. And look, this isn't just some feel-good idea. We're talking about physically rewiring your brain. Every time you do a tiny, low-stakes action, a micro-rep, you're building a new neural pathway. Your brain is learning, through real-world action, that the situation was actually safe. And listen, you don't need to go bench press 300 pounds on your first day, right? So forget about trying to be the life of the party. Just start with one single rep. Maybe it's just making eye contact with the barista when you get your coffee. That's it. That's a win.
And that's the punchline. You did the thing, no matter how small, and your brain just logged a brand new piece of data. You survived. You do this enough times, and you start to overwrite that old, outdated tiger attack programming with a new script based on today's reality.
Okay, so we've reset our mindset. Now, let's load up your toolkit. Section 3, your conversation toolkit. These are the strategies you can use to escape the dreaded small talk prison once and for all. Okay, lean in for this one, because it's a huge, counterintuitive secret. The best conversationalists, they aren't the ones with the best stories. They're the best listeners. The goal isn't to impress everybody. It's to get the other person to talk about 70% of the time.
Now, here's why this works. It's literally brain chemistry. When you let someone else talk about themselves, their brain releases reward chemicals. It feels good. So you're making them feel good just by listening. And guess what? They'll walk away thinking you are one of the most fascinating people they've ever met.
But how do you actually get them talking? We've all been there, right? Stuck in that loop of, so, what do you do? Nice weather we're having. Ugh. The solution is a really simple framework called the question funnel. The question funnel. It's a simple 3-step map to guide any conversation from superficial to meaningful. You start wide and safe with facts. Then you narrow in a bit and you ask for their opinion. And finally, you go deep and invite them to share how they actually feel. It gives you a roadmap every single time. See, what you're really doing is you're handing them the pen. You're inviting them to be the author of their own story, to tell you who they really are. And people love being the expert on their own lives. This just lets them shine. All right, Section 4, from talk to connection. Having a great conversation is just the starting line. Now let's figure out how to build bonds that really, truly last. Trust isn't just built over years. It's built in small moments of vulnerability. Now, hang on, this doesn't mean you dump your entire life story on a stranger. Not at all. It means sharing something small and human. Something like, wow, I was actually a little nervous about coming tonight. That opens the door for them to be human too. This right here is so important. We think we have to project this image of perfection to be liked, but the opposite is true. Perfection creates distance. It repels people. Authenticity, with all its messy little imperfections, that's what actually draws people in and builds real trust. And here's the final tool for making those connections stick. I want you to start thinking of every conversation as an opportunity to make a tiny deposit into what we'll call a context bank. These deposits are just the little details people share with you.
In every conversation, people leave these little conversational breadcrumbs. Did they mention their dog's name? A trip they're planning? A big project at work? Make a mental note. Because when you follow up later and ask, hey, how was that trip to Italy? You're showing you weren't just talking. You were listening. You care.
So if you only take one thing away from this whole thing, let it be this. Being a social person has nothing to do with being an extrovert or the center of attention. It's about being curious. It's about being a great listener. It's about being intentional. Your anxiety is just data. Your curiosity, that's your superpower.
So think about it. The last person you talked to. What's one small detail they mentioned? One little breadcrumb you can remember and hold on to? Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to think of that one thing. Because that isn't just a detail. It's the start of a real connection.
Please subscribe to Smart Laziness.